Hey everybody, welcome to the Snow West Show. I'm Ryan Harris. Real quick, before we get into this episode, the Snow West Show is made possible thanks to Polaris Snowmobiles. Polaris is offering up to $3,000 off mountain sleds available now in dealerships. These are 2023 models. And in addition to that, Polaris is offering a free GoPro Hero 12 Black Edition to anyone who purchases any Polaris snowmobile during the month of October. Month of October only. So go see your Polaris dealer, check out all the new Chaos RMKs, Pro RMKs, all the other Polaris models available. Make a deal, take home your free GoPro Hero 12 Black, get $3,000 extra off on a 2023 model. See your local Polaris dealer or Polaris.com for details. Also sponsoring the show is 320 Guest Ranch, located in Big Sky, Montana, only 5 minutes away from Buck Ridge and Carrot Basin. 320 Guest Ranch offers lodging and accommodations for your next snowmobiling trip. Single cabins and large full cabins with kitchens are available. Check it out at 320ranch.com. And also, thanks to Fly Racing for sponsoring the show and helping us bring this content to you. Fly Racing is the #1 gear brand in Supercross and motocross, and they are bringing that same product innovation to snowmobiling. Whether it's monosuits, helmets, boots, gloves, or goggles, Fly Racing has you covered for your snowmobiling gear head to toe. Check them out at flyracing.com or Fly Racing Snow on socials. All right, on to the show.
It snowed last night.
It snowed in the mountains right outside of Heydays. Hey, welcome to the Snow West Show. I'm your host, Ryan Harris. I have some special guests here. I have Steve Martin, Skidoo ambassador, former pro racer, world champion, I might add. Been on the show before. And Duncan Lee. Duncan, this is your first time on the Snow West Show.
Yeah.
Happy to have you.
Thanks for having me.
The FXR ambassador. Phenomenal content. Like you've been churning out some content for a long time, and you do a great job there.
Thank you.
And
a good social media follow.
He was a film star when DVDs were a thing.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
We pushed that for a bit, yeah. DVDs.
Oh, yeah. Who would have thought those things would have been out of date so quickly?
It's such a bummer.
We were just talking about that with Rasmussen because he did the school series.
Oh, yeah.
And although I feel bad for those guys because they had to go churn out 20,000 copies of these things and then go make all the snow show rounds and
hope to sell them.
I was never like he was on, on both sides of it. He was writing and producing the film Alpine Assassins, and from a writer standpoint, it was so much fun to be involved in it because it was like this year's worth of work, and then you got to see it in this big premiere, and it's kind of a bummer we don't get to do that anymore because it's like Boondockers used to do a big premiere here, Slednex would do one, Alpine Assassins would do one, and it felt like something special. Now we just have to crank out content like daily now. So
well, and you can't get together and have a party with your buddies when everything's get posted on social media.
Yeah, if we really drill down to it, that's probably what it is.
Yeah, well, I think we ruined it.
Yeah, like I don't know if we ruined it, but we are missing out on the community fact of like getting together for the premieres because those were so much fun, and it was a lot of work, but it paid off because you're like one night only blowout show. Yeah. It's like get as many people as you can, and like lights go down, music goes up, Steve's on the big screen.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
Or we'd all meet in one spot. We'd all we're going to be at Togedy tomorrow at 7. We're filming, and then we just go build jumps all day. And it's not exactly like that anymore.
Yeah, and see now nobody knows if you're at Togedy doing a bow tie or if you're in your backyard doing a bow tie.
Yeah, I know, and I'll never tell you the truth either.
Exactly. Down there next to Duncan, we got Justin Stevens, Snow West test rider.
Oh. Yeah.
What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, one of the things that I loved about the movies is there's more of a story to tell. It's a little more, I don't know, with the short snippets, it's just like something cool. It's over. We don't have the attention span to pay attention any longer than that, but I ski a lot too, and so the ski industry still puts out some pretty cool ski films. But what I always enjoy is it's more of a journey, or you can turn it into something. I don't know. I think we're missing out. We're missing that for sure. But it's expensive and hard to do if there's not any support.
Like when Slednex would come out, it was a movie night. I would pop popcorn and sit down, and you get psyched up. The copies come in the mail and all that. You get excited to sit down and watch this thing. On social media, though, if your reel doesn't catch me in about 2.5 seconds,
you're
exactly
100%.
Sorry,
gone.
Steve.
Yeah.
Now, granted, your stuff's on fire lately. You've been doing some good stuff there.
I want to know, Steve, what made you turned a light switch?
Yeah.
Like at some point there was 2 years ago, I think now. You were Steve Martin, my buddy, or riding pal, filming stuff, getting rowdy. But then all of a sudden, you flipped a switch and started producing comedy. with snowmobiles.
I don't
And-
even know where the inspiration came from.
Dude, it's epic.
Do you remember Dickie Do's used sled sales?
You mean
Yeah. It was like I was thinking, like that's the stuff that's funny, and it's like what Ryan said. You have to hook people right away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't know, and I just have fun doing it, and
it's awesome. And
Yeah.
you've like roped your wife into it now, and
she
the kids.
keeps threatening to quit on me, but I'm like, well, you can't.
How
love
exactly
that.
does she quit on you doing
I
that?
know exactly.
No, Jen's great in that stuff.
Oh, thank you.
And your
Yeah.
kids are funny too when you have them in there.
Yeah, for sure, they love it.
But that last one you did two really good ones in a row. The blue sled,
Oh, yeah.
pretty like you. And then what was the one before that you did?
Was it the snow shovel one?
The snow shovel, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the snow shovel's epic. I was dying. I also like recently with Jen on the deck, you're like, what, dumb dad jokes or something? I don't even know where you pull this stuff out of. I'm like, where did you get this one? This is epic.
I don't know.
I filmed a couple that I was like, but this might get me canceled.
Just save them as drafts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Keep that one.
Use
It's
those
always hard to
later
know
on.
how
Yeah,
far to
yeah.
push it.
I don't know. I love it, and we've had this conversation before. It's just like let your personality come out. Like too many times, pro snowmobilers like. Let's all remember this is just snowmobiling. Like this isn't NASCAR. This isn't pro football. Like,
Right.
Maybe we're pros in this, but we're still snowmobilers.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I was talking to Dave Nerone on the phone one time, and this is last winter, and he said, if I see one more bow tie on Instagram, I'm going to stick my head through the screen. I'm like, God, that's true. You know, like, I'm not great at bow ties anyway, but
Wait, you have a cover doing a bow tie. Just wanted
it was
to
good.
make sure.
Great photography. But he's like, we have to show how much fun we're having, not just the stuff no one can do, like the fun of snowmobiling as a whole, not just like the super advanced stuff, but it's just like what we were talking about earlier, like getting together with your friends and why we love this sport. And so we have to try to show that to everyone.
But yeah, but whenever we stick a camera in somebody's face, all of a sudden they stand up straight and they talk totally different. Their voices change, and they're like
Yeah,
trying to be professional. It's like, all right, stop. We're going to start over. Like just relax. Just be yourself. Like
I saw you at dinner last night at 9 o'clock. That's not how you were acting.
Yeah, I don't. That's a different story right there too. But,
Where'd you guys go to dinner?
I don't know, some little golf course in Minneapolis or Forest Lake.
Yeah, Forest Lake. It was way too
I don't
fancy
know.
for
I
me.
had an answer to that. You probably weren't expecting an answer to that, but I don't know. Yeah, and you guys have. Speaking of personalities, like you two have some of the best personalities in the sport. And you're finding you're letting loose on there, and it's creating good content.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So how do you two how far back do you two go?
I think it was Alpine Assassins. I think Randy Suga.
Probably
actually
08
even
or 09.
Maybe it was your dad.
I think it was Randy. Or maybe
Randy
it was-
and your dad
Yeah.
hanging out, and then I think at the same. I mean, I knew who Steve was long before we met, right? Because he is a legend with the racing. And I was like, whoa, dude from Utah races snowcross, and he's world champion. Like, that is epic.
Yeah, it was like 08, I think. And then he was doing the Alpine Assassins thing. And like, this is like before social media, really.
Oh, yeah.
And then Randy was showing me videos, and I was like, this dude from California sends it. So, like, that's why we're friends.
That's all it took.
And then we met, and we're like, hey, let's go send it.
Yeah.
So give me a little your background there, Duncan. Like what part of California, and how did you kind of get?
So technically, it's the most not part of California that I live in. I live near Lake Tahoe.
Okay.
And like northern Cal, I'm like a couple miles from the Nevada border. I live in a ranching farming community area, which is awesome, nestled up against the Sierra. I could ride from the house if I want, but my house is at 4,800 feet. We ride 7,000 to 9,000 feet. There's a couple different trailheads within 15 minutes of the house, and I teach at those. I teach avalanche education.
Nice.
And I work for the Sierra Avalanche Center out there. And in, 2008, we started Alpine Assassins. Me, two other friends from Reno, Tahoe area, and then Randy Sugahara, who's in Ogden out here in Utah. And it was just because we wanted to keep traveling, chasing snow. And we were like, well, how are we going to afford this or convince our wives that we can go do this?
You can do it for work.
Yeah, so we call it work, and we're like trying to make money on DVD sales. Like, I think it'll happen. So we went after a bunch of sponsors. Like Kurt Zach was one of our first sponsors from HMK, and that was awesome, and like opened the door and made it happen. And we get to meet cool people, and we've been to the Utah show a ton. And it was like we had this little battle going on with Boondockers. Those unsung, like unspoken battle. And I don't know if it was because we made it awkward when we saw each other, but it was like never awkward, but it felt awkward. And like, it was like, was that awkward? I don't know. And we never really rode together. And then later on, like Smasher lives in Reno, and Smasher and I get to ride from time to time because both our schedules are crazy, but it is a blast. And we have a super, super fun time riding together. And I was always like, well, I don't think those guys like us, you know? But that was not the case. And then like getting to meet people like Steve, and like we're all so like-minded in this sport. It's one of the coolest things. And through my experience of teaching avalanche education for the past 10 years, traveling around the country and other countries doing it, like everybody that rides a snowmobile is such a similar person to the other people riding snowmobiles. And it's such an easygoing crowd. The crowd that will give you the jacket off their back to make sure you have an okay time or get you out of the backcountry if you're in a heap of trouble or something. So it's just been it's such an awesome thing to be in, and I have loved my experience in this sport to like, this is who I am, and it's just cool. And I'm like, keep coming back for more. I've signed up with FXR as a sales rep, and I'm helping with a bunch of other stuff there as well to keep it going. But like, I'm totally invested now with my life in snowmobiling because it's so rad.
So how did you make the transition? You're kind of a big backcountry air guy, came from Alpine Assassins and that. How did you get into the avalanche education side of that?
So it wasn't even my fault. My boss / avalanche professional mentor, Travis Feist, reached out to me and said, hey, we're trying to reach the motorized community out here in Lake Tahoe, and we want somebody like you that can help us like make it cool. And I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean? He's like, well, come and help us teach an avalanche awareness class. It's going to be a 3-hour classroom session at night, and the next day we're all going to go ride, and we'll pay you. And I said, what? And he said, yeah, come on out. It should be super fun. I'm like, okay, well, I don't really care what you pay me, but that sounds great. You're going to like, was it going to cover my gas or whatever? So that was like the first one I did with Travis, and then also the Bridgeport Ranger District. Kind of just opened the door of this like, wow, this is awesome. I'm like, my job is to go out on my snowmobile, teach people about the mistakes I have made in the past. And I had taken some avalanche training of my own. And at that point, I had a more educated professional with me so that we were meeting the AAA standards. And from there, it was like, oh, this is cool. And Travis Feist said, go take an instructor training course through ARI. Like, okay. So I did. We taught some more classes. And go take a course leader training through ARI. And at that time, we had expanded our program to teaching level 1s and then rescue classes. And then we started teaching level 2s, and I was course leading. So then we split them up, and Travis teaches in South Lake Tahoe. I teach in North Lake Tahoe. And then around that same kind of era, I got an email from ARI, American Institute of Avalanche Research and Education, and they said, thanks for joining the board. And I said, what? And Travis said, oh, I forgot to tell you, I nominated you as a board member. I'm like, okay. But they needed motorized guidance, right? And ARI has been like, Mike Duffy started avalanche education for motorized users a long time ago. But one person really can't service the entire industry. Right. And he did a lot. He tries, totally. And he gets around and does a bunch of stuff. ARI jumped in. They're an organization of many people building the curriculum, having different providers in different areas, and really lifting up the entire thing with a lot of support and kind of information and back and forth. And so it was they also provide professional training and instructor training. And it's kind of a bunch of different levels. Anyways, once I got put on the board, I started teaching pro courses and instructor training courses for ARI directly, as well as rec courses throughout the country. So I work with some friends that were students of mine becoming instructors, the Mountain Riding Lab up in the Jackson area, and Matt Shebaum and Will Mook, and they're phenomenal instructors, great guys. They do a lot of work with Polaris, as well as teach rec courses on their own. And just kind of, pardon the pun, it snowballed. Once the door was opened, I was like, this is a great avenue for me to work on my snowmobile. And every day, almost every day in January, I'm like, sorry, honey, I have to go to work. It's another 3-foot powder day, but we have 3 days on the snow with 10 people that I'm going to go teach how to do it right and be safe, come home after every ride. But we're going to go do wheelies and bow ties now and shred, pow, and have a blast. So I don't know, it was like this weird fit that just really, it wasn't difficult for me. And I think that was part of the draw to it. I don't know, it's very rewarding. It's very fun. It can be very challenging at times. I have to think a lot sometimes, but then again, it's like experience versus the education I've taken. And we're just talking about snow.
As opposed to Steve, who thinks rarely.
Yeah, exactly.
the stuff that you've been jumping lately, and you hired a videographer to kind of follow you around.
Yeah.
To video you hitting stuff and landing in the next county. How do you jump that big?
I don't know. It's just you look for a landing first, and he's the same way. So you find a good landing, and you make a jump, but most of the time during the year, you just try to find natural stuff, and it's fun to stumble upon something new. And then I always take that opportunity.
Does any of that Justin and I will go out and jump, and we'll hey, look,
we think we had
I took off right there and I landed right there. Look, my track came off the ground.
I still like to look at my tracks too.
Yeah, the video never looks as good. I don't know why, but I was like, no, we were way higher.
It's all about the angle.
Yeah, you got to get the angle right.
Yeah, no, but your tracks like you have to drive to find your landing.
Well,
it's a different story. We're not on the same page.
It's nice that we can do it on stock snowmobiles now. I used to have to build. We used to get race sleds, rolling chassis out of the crate, and then put 800s in them, and so it'd be like an MXZX 440 with an 800 in it. So it had full snowcross suspension. And because my dad was tired of me bending brand new Summits because he was a dealer for a long time, and then I'd come home for Christmas and he told me one year, he's like, please don't jump this. He was going to some Snow West shootout. He's like, I'm taking this to the shootout, please don't jump it. And then he came in the shop that night and I had it on its side and I'm smashing an A-arm straight and the running boards are all bowed out. So, so it's nice the sleds handle the abuse a little better.
Bowed out running boards, you said 08?
This was like an 06 Rev.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It took a lot of abuse in the 3 weeks I was home. Low snow year.
I think too, snowcross background, all those guys they're either in the air or in a turn or on a flat piece of landing. So most of Steve's racing was in the air, so I think he's really comfortable jumping.
Yeah. And I came from bicycles because I grew up dirt jumping pedal bikes. So I'd get home from school and we'd just take shovels and we had these dirt trails with huge doubles everywhere. And so I got really comfortable jumping, and so I still am, I guess.
So when you approach a jump, though, even though you've scoped out the landing and you feel comfortable on that, it's just that time in the air and not having anything underneath you. It's the tabletop concept. Like if you jump a tabletop, anybody can go hit a tabletop, and then they can progress and be get up to a 20, 30, 40-foot jump on a dirt bike or whatever. The minute you take the dirt out of the middle, suddenly you can't jump that anymore. Is that a mental thing? How do you overcome that?
For sure, it's mental. Be very comfortable if you're jumping, though. It's like...
You don't wing it.
Yeah, definitely don't wing it, especially if it's a gap. Start small. And a big mistake people make on dirt bikes, bicycles, they freeze in the air. Sleds, too. So, you see videos on Instagram all the time, someone in the air and they're completely frozen, the sled's, looping out.
Stay loose.
I like to say, keep riding it the entire time. In the air, make adjustments. I don't know, get comfortable.
You see that right there?
Yeah.
Separated AC.
Grade 3 AC separation. Freezing in the air on a mountain bike.
Oh.
Mountain bike crashes hurt worse. I was riding behind my wife last week, and we're going 10 miles an hour. And I crashed so hard, and I smashed my face into a tree, and the branch went in between the helmet.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. So it's
dirt hurts.
Yeah, dirt hurts worse.
It's funny because we used to go there for a little while. We were mountain biking
did a bunch of downhill.
We were going to Targhee a few times a summer.
So fun.
Getting a bunch of sledders together and going. But like you say, when things go wrong on a mountain bike, you just slam the ground instantly.
Yeah,
it's not the same. On a dirt bike, you can do something. On a sled, you can do something. But a bike, Like I learned you almost have to come off right or you're toast.
Yeah.
So you just kind of flop and land.
There's no forgiveness. Yeah.
No,
It's
there's
weird.
there's no throttle to save you. And, yeah.
And the ground hurts. Like
It
that,
does.
that dirt. Like,
Third hurts.
oh man. So you, in a minute, like you probably got to wrap up here in a few minutes. You guys are going to go teach a seminar on.
That's
on
what I hear.
Pre-ride prep.
I have no idea what it's
Is
about.
this news to you,
Yeah,
Steve?
I didn't even know. Like that's now I know what we're kind of doing.
Yeah, you kind of spilled the beans there on me. No.
So what are you guys talking about? Like, what is pre-ride prep?
So I like coming to these shows and doing a seminar because, one, it gives me more to do, and it gives me another way to kind of maybe reach some people. So hopefully we get a nice crowd in there. And bringing Steve, I was like, oh, Steve will do it with me. It'll be awesome. He'll bring more people, right? So we can reach more people. Pre-ride prep is what you do before you go on the snow, because once we get on the snow, we know what happens. Everybody just goes ballistic because it's a sick powder day or whatever it is.
No.
So if you set yourself up with good pre-ride prep, you're going to have a better day on the snow. So I'm going to draw out of Steve. Don't listen. I'm going to draw out of Steve. I'm going to ask him some questions on what
Cut him
he
off.
does, right? Because I don't like teaching avalanche education. To me, needs to be fun. I'm not going to read a pamphlet to you in course. We're going to go do wheelies. We're going to go experience how to do wheelies safely. Like I still jump a lot as well, and I love it, but I do it with safety in mind, right? I'm not just shooting from the hip. We're planning it. I'm looking at the avalanche conditions. We're not just winging it, right? So like, I think there's a way to get rowdy, but do it safely so you come home after every ride. So prepping for a good ride, we're going to talk about what we do in the morning, the different tasks that you do before you get in the truck, reading an avalanche advisory, looking at the weather, what you're packing, stuff like that, how to set up your sled. Not so much like what Brett talks about, set up your sled, but like for the day. You know what I mean?
So what? Like, talk to that specifically. What do you set up your sled for a day for that ride?
So like, do I need to do any suspension adjustment today for today's conditions? Right? I'm going to do that probably in the warmth of my garage rather than at the trailhead if I'm taking my truck with sled deck or in my trailer, right? But nowadays it's kind of nice because you just twist a couple knobs. But I like to do that before I'm on the actual trail, because if you don't have the knobs and it's a quick thing and you're going to actually like do shock pressure, and you got to tip it up on the side or something. Setting up your tunnel bag, right, with all the right stuff. I do that at home, so I can just grab my tunnel bag out of the truck. I don't have to open it if it's a like storm day. I don't want to open it and get it all snowy while I'm in the parking lot. I try and set everything up before I get to the parking lot.
So speaking of tunnel bags, funny story real quick. I was cleaning out the garage.
This summer? Yeah.
No, like last week. and there's this timber sled tunnel bag, right?
Oh,
and I've known it's been there for a while.
How many years while?
This is
couple of
probably
these.
like 2016-ish.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Was it a science experiment?
Pretty much. So I'm like, it's probably time to figure out why this is still sitting here. So I pop it open, and there's an orange and yellow like fox beanie, and something else, but it was covered in mold. I don't know what it was, but just like brown, like green spots of mold everywhere, and then a sandwich bag underneath it all. I didn't really dig through it, but. Yeah, I'm not really into the whole post-ride prep so much as the pre-ride prep.
Well, there you go.
You should run a course about post-ride.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could have a seminar after us about
Yeah.
post-ride.
That was probably one of those last rides. It was a snow bike bag, so it was probably one of the last rides of the season, and
Yeah.
took it off and just put it away, and I don't know, 8 years later,
That's
I wonder if that
terrible.
sandwich is still good.
Probably.
You should try.
Oh, that's nasty. No, that thing went into a garbage bag, got tied tight, and thrown into the dumpster.
That was probably some
Good call.
medical breakthrough,
Oh.
antibiotic
Yeah,
that
it
you were
could have
growing in
been.
your garage.
I should have dug that fox beanie out, though. I probably could have sold that on eBay.
Extra
Kinda
fuzzy,
vintage.
extra fuzzy fox beanie.
One,
It was green
one
and
of
orange.
a kind colorway,
Yeah. Why is this camo?
orange cap.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. So what else goes into that pre-ride prep on that?
I mean, it's just kind of like I'd say it's information gathering. You know, like set yourself up right, making a plan, calling your friends, telling somebody where your crew is going to be that day, and then like, hey, you know, what I do at my house is don't call anybody until we're like 12 hours late, because we can probably handle it ourselves. and we don't need to mess with things unless it's like some crazy night storm or something awkward.
Does that change with who you're riding with, though? Like,
Totally, yeah. Like I think everything about the pre-ride, so like depending on what the weather is, depending on what the avalanche conditions are, depending on who I'm out with and where I'm going, then it would be kind of, hey honey, don't worry about us until it's 3 a.m. Or maybe today is the day it's like, yeah, today's kind of spicy. If we're not home by 7, then something's not right. So just trying to figure out what recipe everybody has, because everybody's different. And like we can do I don't want to say a cookie cutter approach, but more like a checklist approach, and then you fill in the blanks of what works for you under those headings, right? So like some of the things we can't change are like check the weather, check the avalanche advisory, right? Understand what's going on in the snowpack before you get out there so you can talk with your friends about it. And then from there, it's like picking who you're riding with, where you're going, what kind of riding you're doing for the day, and if you need to set limits or not. Like when you ride with Steve, you kind of don't get to set any limits. So you got to be on your toes all the time.
Does Jen notice if you don't come home? Is it going to be like Tuesday morning? Like, where's Steve been?
Oh, it's like he was saying. It depends. If I go with the Sugaharas, she knows not to. She won't see me until it's midnight.
Always a night ride.
Yeah.
You're like, I didn't know we were going on a night ride. They're like, what do you mean?
Yeah, it's a normal day for us. It's your headlight. You don't have a headlight? Bummer.
Yeah. Oh, I would have packed my night ride stuff.
See,
Communication, man.
My ground rule is nothing good happens after 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh.
So I'm generally home by 5.
Yeah, same. I'm usually out of gas on fumes by 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I'm really disappointed about it.
But see, what drives me nuts
true.
is sometimes like I'll plan a ride with a new group, like for whatever we're doing for work or whatever, and I'll be like, okay, so we're gonna be on snow 8:30, 9. I'm like, sure. And,
That's not promising.
And I'm like, okay, well, I'll drive to Star Valley or whatever and meet up with these guys. And I pull up. I'm always the first one there on this type of ride, maybe like a Jay Manaberry type ride. And
not to name any name.
And they'll roll in like an hour later, and then they're just wearing their jeans, and I'm already suited up. I'm like, all right, what are we doing? And they go into the trailer, and then we're hanging out in the trailer for a while. And we're making breakfast in the trailer, and I got to change my shocks. Like,
wow.
give me a minute. I got to swap my skid, like real quick, Yeah. And the ride doesn't start till like 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And it's like okay, like this day's going to be a lot longer than I planned on.
Yeah.
These guys should come to the seminar in a little bit.
Jay, if you're listening.
Jay Manaberry. the Blay and Jane show.
Oh, yeah. They could use a couple pointers, but no, they got their own program.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
works.
It works.
Yeah.
It works.
It's an afternoon program, but
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah.
They probably run out of gas too. So
They do, yeah.
at the end of it.
Just
As long as you're out of gas, it's a good day.
Yeah.
So when has a day gone just haywire for you? Like what's the worst turnout? Like aside from like terrible avalanche stuff, just like when does a ride go bad?
I'd say when you're exhausted, down in some terrain that you're questioning your exhausted ability of getting out of.
I think that's character building, though.
Well, it is.
Yeah, it's like,
every difficult situation is
There you
character
go.
building for sure. But like, I'd say that's when rides get difficult to the point of like, oh my God, what are we doing?
yeah, and it's usually.
I don't find myself in that situation where I'm tripping out anymore. I used to, but now I'm like, this is cool. Like, we're gonna live. It's not a big deal.
Exactly.
But there's other group, and I won't throw anybody's name out there aside from Dave McClure, but that's the type of ride they want.
Yeah,
Right.
I like
Oh.
those too. You know,
Did I see you
is
last
his
year?
ride.
You guys were on your way out from one of those rides?
Oh my gosh! Yeah, we passed you.
Yeah, we saw
Yeah.
you. I was coming in a 3 o'clock ride, and you guys were on your way out on fumes, and you talked about low snow conditions, like riding some pine needles and dropping over ridges that you were just like, gassed.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
you remember that ride.
Well, and that's what I'm getting to. It's like type A fun, right? It's,
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's the kind of stuff that you never forget.
It's
but there are groups out there that is the only kind of fun we can have.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the only ride you do with Dave McClure. Whether you're on a dirt bike or a
That's what I've heard,
snowmobile, it's always the same.
But see, Dave's got a program there that nobody is really.
I know.
Like his backpack has like bivy bag, and food. Like he can survive, and he's almost planning on an overnight stay. And
if he gets home,
else-
that's great. But
it sounds like he's
planning to
tipping
stay.
the odds in that direction.
well,
he
but-
should
but-
he should come to a pre-ride prep seminar too.
Well,
Sounds
I
like.
think he could teach you
teach
some
it.
things about pre-ride
I-
prep in a clear way. Because nobody
I'm
else
down.
is in on the plan. It's just
Yeah. It's a
Dave's
secret.
ready for an overnighter. Everybody else, yeah, we'll be done by 4, man, tops. Like, don't worry about it. It's going to be an easy ride.
Yeah.
And I told, like, last year, he tried to get me to come on a ride with him and Tristan Aroni. And he was like, well, Tristan's coming, so it'll be pretty easy. I'm like, no, it won't, Dave.
Yeah, it never changes.
Like there is no easy with you. I don't care who's riding with you. And Tristan's a great rider, but it wound up like I think Dave's wife Maddie had to come and pick one of the guys up down on the road. Like
Wow.
it was not an easy ride. I don't know, but the pre-ride it just cracks me up because pre-ride prep to some people is just totally different because
It's true.
they crave that type A fun, where
Drag your buddies through the gnarliest stuff and have quite the adventure until you're totally gassed and done.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
like that ride where we ran into you last year.
Yeah.
We were going up a south-facing slope, and I'm wide open on a boost because there's nowhere in between to stop. Like we had been to the bottom, we are working our way up to the top, and we're in about 6 inches of snow.
Good.
And like I'm wheeling through willow bushes as tall as these mother flags, just trying to get up the hill. And I'm looking down, and I'm like, look, oh, there's a rock, there's dirt, oh, there's a squirrel. Like there's nothing on the ground. And I'm like, I think I shredded that track, like 275 track. It's not going to hold up to rocks and all that stuff. But I remember every single detail because it's that kind of a ride.
Yeah.
But to your point, like that's right on the edge of
Well,
something goes wrong, and all of a sudden
That's
it's
what it
a
is.
bad day.
yeah, if something goes wrong, then how are you set up to not have that wrong thing go worse, Like do you have the stuff, and it sounds like Dave did have the stuff to make it okay. Like if somebody got hurt, could you get them out? Could you fix the wound? Could you take care of them and survive, right? Because that's the last thing that we want to happen. Because it's dangerous out there. Mountains trying to kill you. Snowmobiles are trying to kill you now and rip your arms off. At least mine does. And so, like, I think that you also got to identify, like, so I'm mental noting that if I see Dave McClure's phone number on my phone for a ride, I'm just going to, depending on what tomorrow looks like, I'm either just going to slide it over here and ignore it, or I'm going to go start packing all the stuff I might need.
Well, you want to answer the call and you want to do the ride. Like trust
Yeah,
me.
well, I
Like,
believe
you
you.
want to
I
do the
believe
ride. Just have 2 bags ready.
Yeah.
Like one for a normal ride and one for like an overnighter.
So bring the Dave ride pack in case.
Yeah, maybe bring a tent, sleeping bag.
I think there's a lot of cool things you can get a pretty small bivy sack nowadays, and I have one in some of my gear depending on the day, and overnight stuff that I could survive all night, and we've had to do it, and it's not that bad.
Yeah.
But I live out
Smart.
where the temperatures are soft. Out
That's a good
this way
point.
is different.
Yeah.
Well, it's great advice. I mean, a lot of times I think we all think everything's going to be the ideal situation. Nothing bad's going to happen. We're not planning to spend the night. Obviously, we were going to be home by 4 or 5 o'clock or whatever. But that's what's tough about it, because when it goes bad fast.
Yeah.
The minute that you're out, you're cold, you're wet. Maybe you put your sled in the creek, and now you got to figure out how to either spend the night or get out. I don't know. So that's awesome that you're doing a seminar on that, because I think that's one of those things that we tend to overlook. I was thinking even when you said, we prep early. I mean, how many times have you gotten like there and thought, well, I'll do all these things when we get there, and then everybody's like ready to go, so you just throw your stuff on and go, right? So
What do you guys do?
Hey man, Patrick, go home. Welcome to the show, Patrick.
We're filming a podcast.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
But hey, we better let you guys go. You got about 15 minutes to go prep for your
Okay, we're
your
gonna
seminar
go
there.
prep for pre-ride prep.
Prep
Yeah.
for pre-ride prep.
That should be easy for me because I have No idea.
Yeah,
No.
you don't have to prep.
You know a lot more than you let on.
Yeah.
There's a step stool in the corner of the room for him.
Well, I was trying to make
him up.
myself look a lot bigger because
Yeah.
I'm so much taller than Steve.
All right, there you go. All right, Steve Martin, Duncan Lee, Justin Stevens. Great having you on the show. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks
you
for having
guys.
us.
Yeah,
All right, see ya.
it's awesome.